I'm deeply disappointed that this has had to be a Thank You India event, though of course we're deeply grateful that the Tibetan feel gratitude. But it really should have been a thank you Tibet, thank you Tibetans, and for us, above all, thank you His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because His Holiness has embodied the highest human aspiration and has been an example for us in India of our own values and our own aspirations. I think the success story of the Tibetans in exile in India has been one of the most remarkable ones in human history, where the Tibetans have come in here, they've preserved their identity, and they have remained welcome not just by the government of India for political reasons, but by the people of India. And there is an amazing relationship of trust and admiration for the Tibetan people, that for their honesty, for their integrity, for their spiritual aspirations and their spirituality that is so manifest. The fact that for every monastery that was destroyed in Tibet, a monastery has been built in India is not just a contribution of India to preserving Tibetan heritage, but to bringing back to India aspects of our own heritage, which is actually not just ours now, but belongs to Tibetans and Indians, and in fact, to the world. I think that at so many layers, that the bonding and the connections between Tibetans and India, of course they're historic. We know that Buddhism traveled from India to Tibet and was preserved in Tibet. But I think what many Indians don't realize, and perhaps not many Tibetans realize, that it was far better preserved in Tibet than it would have been anywhere else. And there are many reasons for that. It is not just the solitude and the isolation of Tibet, and that it was protected from the ravages of time and invasions that India went through, but it was really Tibetans who went beyond the limitations of their own language. You know, ultimately, any philosophy is not just the language of the philosophy, but the experience of the practitioner. And a living philosophy is a philosophy as is practiced. And the experience, the intellectual, emotional, psychological experience is something that transcends language. So the Tibetans went as far as expanding their language to accommodate the complexity of this meditative experience and the spiritual experience, which is something that Pali and Sanskrit were unable to do. So it's not just the physical assimilation and the physical preservation, but the very spirit and the nuance of that preservation that has now come back. Also that we are deeply grateful to the Tibetans because, you know, whenever His Holiness speaks anywhere, he's always talking about not just his gratitude to India, but holding aloft India's spiritual heritage, India's values as a model for the rest of the world. So today he is the best ambassador for India and India's culture, more than any Indian can be. So I mean, I could go on and occupy your entire program. There's so many layers that we have been deeply grateful to the Tibetans. And I have to say, we also feel pride that the Tibetans have been able to assimilate what India has had to offer them. So it has been a remarkable contribution on the Indian side too, that you now have, say, Tibetan schools where young Tibetans can study up to, say, CBSE or the school graduation level, and also do a subject that helps them retain their identity. So while we have made a small seminal contribution to that, the Tibetans have given back several times multiplied to India, and our shared history and our shared future are interdependent, as His Holiness so frequently teaches.
Tibetans had to leave their land to come to India, but it has been a getting together of old friends, old civilizations who were always friendly to each other, learning from each other. So I don't see it as an occasion of gratitude. It is an important date, it's an anniversary, but I don't think India needs gratitude. Just gave some land to a small number of people, but the small number of people have made tremendous contributions and enriched India, and there are so many common issues that we jointly think about. And as Sekyung said, we also have common problems that we think together about. So whereas it's good to mark these numbers, it's good, just like birthdays and anniversaries, and Tibetan exiles have chosen to call it Thank You India, and that's a lovely sentiment, but I don't see it as India needs to be thanked for anything, as it were. It's, as it were, within a family you don't thank each other in that sense that there is a loan that you've taken that you've thanked. It's more that we thank each other. At some point India should thank the Tibetan community. So that's my view. Yes, that's how I think about it.
Well, I think it should be the other way around. I think the government of India and the people of India should thank Tibet and His Holiness for gracing his presence and being in our country. I think it should be the other way around. You've been holding great traditions of India. We just heard it from Kapilaji. I think the thanks should also be the other way around. You know, thanks can never be one way.
I was really thrilled, and today, having seen, it was at a bigger, better level kind of thing than whatever, functions of this kind were organized, arranged earlier. I never seen such a big, on a big scale, any function organized by Tibetans in Delhi at least. The first time I'm seeing such on a very big scale with so many speakers. So that is in brief my reaction to this kind of function today. And I regret, and I apologize on behalf of the people of India for cancelling the program that was to be organized, Thank You India program in New Delhi. Okay, that should not have been done whatsoever, whatever the reason, That should have been, they should have been, the Tibetan, administration should have been allowed to organize that kind of function, all the more because, as you said today, just minutes ago, 60 years of Tibetans exile, and then His Holiness Dalai Lama coming over to India, taking refuge, and then India, of course, for us it was a blessing kind of thing, that he's not coming as a refugee, he's coming as our guru. Okay, therefore we are thrilled, we are happy. After all, having seen the kind of activities China is doing all over, they have surrounded us from all the sides. You are not allowing these people having a kind of cultural function or just a one-day function in which they do nothing but Thank You India, saying that kind of thing. Therefore, I repeat, that should not have been cancelled, and it was not in the best interest of our country and in the interest of the Tibetans as well.